Not so long ago, remember when Republicans were obsessed with the deficit, constantly talking about the deficit, debt, debt, debt. These are the most important issues for us. We haven't heard much about it. I mean, you remember Mitt Romney was campaigning on the deficit and on debt for much of his presidential campaign, and we're not really hearing much. And Alice Kreitz from the Washington Post actually did an analysis of how much is the topic of debt and deficit being mentioned by politicians and by media, and it's decreased significantly over the last 6 to 12 months. What happened? The answer is very, very simple. The deficit is way down, and for now, doesn't seem to really be a big problem. This week, the Congressional Budget Office estimated for the fiscal 2014 year that the deficit is $492 billion, or 2.8% of the gross domestic product, which is basically exactly where it was in the early part of the Bush II, the George W. Bush administration. Obama has talked about it a little bit, but remember, Democrats never thought it was the number one issue. So now we have a situation where Republicans were obsessed with it. The deficit is down. It's not really an issue right now. Republicans have moved on to fake scandals instead. But President Obama and Democrats, since they never thought it was the primary issue, aren't really talking about it. I actually think strategically, maybe it makes sense for Democrats to talk more about the deficit now, in spite of the fact that it was the Republican obsession, because maybe it will remind voters that this is a problem that is under control from President Obama. I don't know. It just seems like a mistake now to let it go by the wayside. If Republicans wanted it to be an issue, let's follow up and tell them where it's gone.
Well, I think that it would still be an issue if it weren't for other things that weren't so emotional, right? We have the immigrants crossing the border and crazy stuff like that. We had Obamacare and death panels. We had
the IRS scandal, Bo Bergdahl, Benghazi.
Right. We have all of these things that just are way more emotionally charged, and they needed to take advantage of that.
Should Democrats talk about the deficit now, leading up to the midterms, leading up to the 2016 election? Yes or no? Let me know.